Hello, everyone. Let me introduce myself. I'm Nilang Gor. I'm a molecular biologist, and I work in a pharmaceutical company, especially in the gene therapy. And also, I'm kind of a community volunteer. So I have been volunteering for the last 5 years in the fields like homelessness, animal rights, environment. But after like 5 years of my community volunteering, what I realized is that lack of empathy is the underlying cause of all our social issues. And while we are trying to actually address all the social issues and inequalities on the surface, which is really good, but we have to somehow address that lack of empathy, which is continuously evolving more and more social issues in our communities. And so that's why I actually launched my organization called Cultivate Empathy for All. And in this organization, our vision is to create the world where we understand our interdependence in the ecosystem so that we can live our life cultivating empathy for fellow human beings, animals, environments, as well as the vegetation. Our well being is very much interdependent with all these various factors in our ecosystem. And if I just need to give you an example, right now, we are, as a human being, abusing animals in the name of food, in the name of fashion, in certain varieties of different ways. And as a result, what we are doing is we are actually impacting our environment. We are impacting our vegetation. And that's actually impacting a human being, ourselves. So that's why we are failing to see this holistic perspective of the system. I call it systems thinking. And as a result, we are actually seeing variety of different issues. And today, I'm going to actually talk about one of the projects that actually pretty much talks about the how we are actually abusing animals in the name of animal agriculture, and that's deteriorating our environment. And but before I actually get into much more details about the animal agriculture impact and how we can actually address that, I want to acknowledge that this webinar is a part of Vegan Justice League Do-It-Yourself Lobbying Series. VJL launched this lobbying series to provide a platform to local lobbyists like myself, so that we can actually use this platform and share tips and strategies that actually work for us, and so that we can actually inspire other residents to engage into a similar kind of a local lobbying in their cities. And by doing so, VJL is trying to build a strong network of local lobbies that we can actually utilize. Now, the question is that why lobbying? Why lobbying is important? The reason why lobbying is so important is because in any given moment, um, if in any given movement, if we are actually just utilizing protest, outreach, disruption, and demonstrations, these limited tools, which are very effective, but they're only good to actually raise or gain attention from media, from public, as well as from the government. But when it comes to passing a firm policy in order to bring the necessary change that we want in our society, lobbying is the most important thing. And so that's why the lobbying is really important in order to bring the political change that we seek in our society. Now, for an example, there's lots of data and information out there. There's lots of scientific research out there that actually suggests that animal farming has a deep impact on variety of different environment and sustainability issues, including our health as well as social inequality. So right now, if we don't utilize this scientific data and information and communicate to our local lawmakers, they are not going to pass this, they are not going to actually address animal agriculture, right? So that's why I think that local lobbyists have a very important role to play over here, where they can actually take this information, take this scientific information, create a bridge, and communicate effectively to our local lawmakers so that they can start addressing animal farming into their climate action plan. Now, In this particular webinar, this is the kind of overview of the entire webinar. And what I'm going to first of all talk about is the problem that we are actually into right now. So which is failure of cities to address animal agriculture. Then I'm going to talk about the solution, which involves a resolution that we are demanding cities to pass. It's called Vision 2025 for Sustainable Food Policies. And then at the end, I'm going to talk about implementation of this solution, meaning how can we actually educate our city council and get this resolution passed. At the end of the three major steps, problem, solution, and implementation, I'm going to actually take 10 minutes to ask any questions you may have. And during the presentation, please feel free to actually submit your questions. And we have Gretchen Ellis, she is our volunteer. So after our webinar, she is going to actually read all the questions in the sequence. And I'm going to answer within like a 10 minutes of time period. And after that, I'm going to actually invite Judy Mancuso. She is founder of Social Compassion and Legislation to talk about SEIL campaigns. And then after that, I'm going to invite Laura Rees. She's from Vegan Justice League, and she's going to talk about VJL's campaign. And then at the end, I'm going to actually take more questions if we have. So the reason why we are here is because of this situation that we are in right now, where climate disasters are happening all around the world with increased intensity and frequency. And it's not only destroying millions of lives, but also it's amplifying our social inequality, because less developed countries, they actually tend to struggle more due to the poor infrastructure. So their climate resiliency is really poor. So it amplifies social inequality, and also it damages our economy as well. But back in 2017, White House withdrew US from Paris Climate Agreement, with Trump saying that Paris Accord will undermine our economy. And after that, many people actually know about this, that US actually withdrew from Paris Agreement, but many people do not know that after this, 407 US cities actually came together and stood against this decision and said that we are going to continue to uphold Paris Agreement, meaning that we are going to actually formulate climate action plan and trying to cut greenhouse gas emission in order to meet the Paris Agreement, which is to keep the global surface temperature below 2 degrees Celsius by 2050. And this is such a powerful stand that they actually took against White House, because cities do have tremendous power. These 407 cities actually account for 70 million Americans. And if we actually look at the overall US population, then city populations actually account for 83% of United States. So that's why there's a huge population right now in this country. They're living in urban areas. And that's why these urban cities, they have a strong power. They have a strong power when it comes to a consumption, because they are the biggest consumer of the US economy. So that consumption can actually be directed towards protecting or destroying our environment. And so that's why these cities can truly formulate a climate action plan that can redirect their consumption in a way that could protect our environment, including climate change. But consumption is the only one thing that cities are failing to address in their climate action plan. And that is because they are following a production-based greenhouse gas inventory. It means that cities are only looking at a greenhouse gas emission from goods and services that's produced within the city limits. But the fact is that we are living in a global world. The food that we eat, the clothes that we wear, they aren't produced locally. So what we should be doing instead is we should be looking at consumption-based greenhouse gas inventory. The consumption-based greenhouse gas inventory that includes global import-export trading, that also includes emission from the product life cycle. So if I have to give you an example over here, let's say for an example, your city consumes 1 liter of a beer in any given day. And so this 1 liter of beer actually generates 628 grams of CO2 per liter. Now, this CO2 emission actually comes from manufacturing, transport to the market, as well as from trading of this beer. So with the entire life cycle, it will generate 628 grams of CO2, but this CO2 will not be included in a city's greenhouse gas emission because of just a one reason, that that beer was actually not produced within the city limit. So that's why, that is one of the reason why United States FAO, Farm and Agriculture Organization, they actually mentioned a couple of times that animal agriculture accounts for 14.5 to 18% of total greenhouse gas emission throughout the world. But when we actually look at our city's greenhouse gas emission chart, there is literally no description of animal agriculture. So they are failing to align with UN FAO reports just because they are not looking at the consumption-based greenhouse gas emission. They're only looking at the emissions that actually comes from the production of goods and services. So that's why in UC Berkeley campus, there is a department called Cool Climate Network. And so Cool Climate Network, they actually generated a consumption-based greenhouse gas inventory for a variety of different cities within United States. And one of the cities was Berkeley. And this is what they came up with. So here, the consumption-based greenhouse gas inventory for the city of Berkeley, and it was generated by Cool Climate Network. And what it shows is that the food sector itself actually accounts for more than 7 metric tons of CO2 per household. It means that more than 7 metric tons of CO2 is actually coming from the food sector, mainly from the meat and the dairy and other animal products. And so that's why we have to actually address the animal farming. But if we are just looking at the production-based greenhouse gas inventory, we would actually not look at this. Also, most important thing over here I want to draw attention is that recently, Berkeley banned natural gas equipment into the new building. But if you look at just the meat, it emits more greenhouse gas than the natural gas. So there is no logical reason for cities to address things like natural gas and not address at all animal agriculture. So now the question is, how much this animal agriculture is important? Can we only just address transportation sector, energy sector, and still keep our global surface temperature below 2 degrees Celsius by 2050? The answer is no. Many of the studies actually estimate that global surface temperature will actually go above 2 degrees Celsius just from the greenhouse gas that's emitted by animal agriculture. So it is really important for us to actually reduce our consumption of animal products if we want to meet Paris Agreement. In ITP report that was actually published last year, they actually mentioned that just top 20 meat and dairy companies, they actually generate more greenhouse gas than Germany, Canada, Australia, UK, or France. So literally from the standpoint of a greenhouse gas emission, these top 20, only top 20 meat and dairy companies, they are actually equivalent to a country of its own. That's even bigger than Germany. So that's why this actually speaks to the scale of the issue that we are dealing with. And we have to actually address animal agriculture. Now, many times when we talk about animal agriculture, we only talk about the climate change. But the reality is that animal agriculture impact isn't limited to climate change. It also threatens the sustainability of our natural resources, like water, like land, like food. It also actually causes health issues, antibiotic resistance. So if we actually look at this broad spectrum of the issues, then we come to realize that cities do need to address animal agriculture in their climate action plan. So what we wanted to do after this is build a strong program that all the 407 cities across the United States upholding the Paris Agreement can actually pass and reduce the consumption of the animal products. So that's why we actually created a set of criteria upon which we wanted to build this program. So the program criteria that we wanted to actually look into is, first of all, we wanted significant change in a short period of time, meaning we wanted to actually build a program that would significantly reduce animal product consumption in the cities and in a very short period of time, because the issue that we are dealing with over here, the only thing that we don't have is the time. So that's why significant change, significant reduction in animal products and replacing it with the plant-based option in a short period of time was one of our major criteria that we were thinking about. The second is we wanted to actually include initiatives from a very well recognized organization, the organizations who have been doing this work for years and are very trustworthy. We also wanted to look into the initiatives that's already adopted by few of the cities, because cities are really good at replicating one another. So if we can actually come up with the initiatives that already adopted by a couple of cities, then that's the kind of initiative we want to include in our program. So that was the second criteria that we actually thought about. Second is we wanted to build a program that actually is a combination of both resolution as well as policies. So resolutions are really good because it draws a broader boundary. It draws a broader boundary for cities to actually incorporate or pass variety of different policies. But one of the problem with the resolution is that it doesn't actually hold city accountable to pass policies to actually meet the objectives in a specific period of time. So that's why cities may actually declare climate action emergency. City may actually declare climate emergency and then may not actually take any significant steps towards addressing climate change. So that's why we needed a policy aspects to it. But also we didn't want it to recommend one or two specific policies. The reason is the policy area, the public policy area is like a tech industry. It's like evolving every day. Variety of different cities, variety of different states, they're coming up with very innovative strategies and policy proposals. So we wanted to kind of build an advisory group that consists of local residents or organization activists that can continue to brainstorm, explore these policy proposals and policy areas, and continue to speed out these policies to their city council so that we can significantly reduce animal products and replace it with plant-based options in a specific period of time. And so after considering all these program criteria, this is what we actually came up with. And that's our call to action to all the 407 cities upholding Paris Agreement. We are asking them to pass a resolution called Vision 2025 for Sustainable Food Policies, under which we are asking them two major actions. The first of all is sign Milan Urban Food Policy Pact. Milan Urban Food Policy Pact is a set of agreement that was created in collaboration with UNFAO. So it's a very well recognized organization. So one of our criteria. Also, this agreement actually demands the city to pass food policies that's actually sustainable from the environment perspective, from the health perspective, and also it's socially equitable. Most importantly, this Milan Urban Food Policy Pact is already signed by major cities like Austin, Chicago, and San Francisco. So that's why it's very easy for now other cities to sign this agreement as well. Another really good thing about Milan Urban Food Policy Pact is that it demands the city to form the advisory body that consists of local residents, activists, organizations, city staff, and other stakeholders. So that's why it can serve as that platform which could continue to speed out really good public policies to the city council that can reduce the consumption of animal products. Also, we wanted to actually set the tone for this moment when city passes the Vision 2025 resolution. So that's why our second demand is to have cities pass climate-friendly food purchase policies using the municipal guide that was developed by Friends of Earth, which is also a very well-recognized organization. Many of you would know that cities actually purchase food for their prison, hospitals, schools, nursing homes, senior centers, government meetings. So for all these venues, they're actually creating contracts with the vendors, and they're spending a specific amount of money to buy this food. So under the climate friendly food purchase policies, we are asking city to actually use 50% of their dollar amount to purchase the plant-based option and move away from the animal products. So that's why with these two actions, we think that we can significantly reduce animal products by 2025 and save millions of animals and also protect our environment and definitely the natural resources that's right now being jeopardized by this industry. And over here, it's photographs of all the community members. They're actually going to the Berkeley City Council in order to talk about the animal agriculture impact and the Vision 2025. So now my whole idea is how can you all get engaged in the local political advocacy so that your cities can also pass Vision 2025. But for that, what's really, really important is that we need to understand the basic structure of your local government, right? So the basic structure of a local government kind of varies across the state, across the United States, but the most fundamental structure actually consists of a group of elected officials. These elected officials are actually called council members, and they represent a specific district in your city. And head of this legislative body, it's head of this council members is a mayor. And mayor and council member all together, they actually form a city council. The city council publicly meets at least twice a month. And I say publicly, it's because all the people, all the residents, everyone's invited in this meeting. And what they do is that they discuss variety of different policies and they pass these policies in the city council meeting. Most importantly, they allow the public to make comments before they actually vote on certain policies. Not only that, but they also invite public to make comments on the items that's not even in their agenda. And this is the really good opportunity for activists, for residents who are concerned about the animal agriculture impact to actually speak and address the animal agriculture to their city council and start drawing their attention to the issue that we are talking about over here. Also, really good thing is that city always broadcast, always live broadcast their meetings. So when you speak during these council meetings, literally, your comments and everything is being recorded on city's website. So next day, you can actually go and download the video and can share it on the social media and can actually raise more awareness, gather more people to come and join you at the city council meetings. This city council meeting is also attended by the local newspaper journalists, local news media channels. So it's also really nice to kind of get their attention as well when you're making the comments. Also, when you're making the comments on the backside, you have lots of city residents that really care about your community. So it's not only you gaining attention of your city council, but you're also educating all your city residents who really care about this community issues. And many times when we actually speak to the Berkeley Council, we hear clapping, even the people who actually haven't joined us in this movement. So it's really, really good idea to start raising awareness when we actually speak at the city council meeting. This city council meeting also have two different types of advisory body. it's called council committee, also the commission. These advisory bodies are actually created around specific issues in the communities like environment, homelessness. And what they do is that they actually propose policies, they make recommendations directly to the council. And those recommendations, those policy proposals directly can be submitted inside their agenda item. And then if the council actually passes, it becomes the law. So this is a really, really nice uh, advisory bodies that we can also start engaging into in order to actually get our message conveyed. Council committees consist of city council members, city staff. On the other hand, the commissions are actually a group of city residents. Those are appointed by council members. And so if you're interested, you can also actually join the commissions as well by contacting your city council members. But the most important thing is these advisory bodies, they also hold public comments. So these advisory bodies are also good meetings for us to actually go and start talking about animal agriculture impact. Now, what's the strategy that we can actually utilize in order to take an advantage of this government structure in order to pass Vision 2025 for sustainable food policies? The strategy starts with, first of all, getting involved, meaning attending your city council meetings, learning that what are the values of your different council members, what are the priority issues for their, what are the priority issues that they are concerned about. And after that, see if, so in any council meeting, there's always a 10 minutes break where council members, they actually come down and speak to the people. At that time, if you're in the council chamber, please go and meet them, introduce yourself, and also support and encourage the work that they are doing. And after that, what you can do is you can start drawing their attention to animal agriculture, meaning that not only speaking during these meetings, these government meetings, but also going to the city council members' office hours. They actually hold office hours once or twice a month. So just showing up to those office hours and start talking about the animal agriculture impact on the environment and how they're actually failing to address it in their climate action plan. This is a really, really effective tool. And whenever I actually go to this council members' office hours, it is unfortunate that I don't see many of the environmentalists, I don't see many of the animal rights activists speaking about the animal agriculture impact. So this is a really good opportunity for us to start addressing and communicating the concern that we only share at social media or educate people on street, but we never actually educate our local city council members. So that's why I really encourage people to start taking advantage of these opportunities. And when we start addressing animal agriculture to our council member, realize that you now already know what are the values and priority issues of the specific council members. So animal agriculture impacts variety of different social issues. So whatever social issue is the priority for that specific council member, address animal agriculture from that direction. That's a really easy way to actually get them on a board with Vision 2025. If a person is not in the belief of climate change, and if you're just talking about the climate change, the council member is never going to be on board. But if that council member is concerned about community's health, then we need to actually start talking about animal products impact on the community residents' health, right? So we really need to gain a perspective of salesman or a saleswoman that actually understand the priority of our audience. And in this case, our audience is our city council members. It's not about what we want to speak. It's about how can I effectively speak and from which direction that can really help them address the animal agriculture impact, right? Now, after actually speaking about animal agriculture impact, request them to schedule a separate appointment with you so that you can make a presentation giving them more detail about the consumption-based inventory and how much animal agriculture impacts our climate change and how much it impacts the sustainability of natural resources and health and antibiotic resistance. And if you get that opportunity, then after the presentation, ask them to introduce the resolution Vision 2025 for sustainable food policies, meaning that they would work with you in order to formulate a policy proposal, and then they are going to actually introduce in the council. So it will be on the council table, and if they actually vote, it will become a resolution for your entire city. So right now, we just recently spoke to one of our council members in Berkeley, and she encouraged us, because her office is really busy, so she encouraged us to draft a policy proposal for Vision 2025. So right now we are working on that, and then we are going to submit it to her office for a review. And if everything goes right, then it will be introduced by her office. And that's exactly what we want here, right? So now, I just want to actually walk you through quickly the kind of a strategy that we followed in Berkeley. You don't have to actually follow, but this is just for an example. I'm actually talking about the strategy that we leveraged in the city of Berkeley to pass Vision 2025. So what I did is 9 months ago, I started speaking to Environment Commission. And after multiple public meetings, Commission never got back to me. So that's where we are when it comes to the Environment Commission. Then I actually also started speaking to the Environment Council Committee. So three of council members are actually in this committee. And so I started making public comments about animal agriculture impact and asking them to give me an opportunity to make a presentation, right? And so quickly, they actually scheduled my presentation. They put me in the agenda. And then during the review of my presentation, one of the council member office recommended me to make a presentation to a climate emergency committee instead of environment council committee. So I accepted the invitation, but then at the end, this committee was dissolved by the council. So again, I was back to the environment committee. So that's where we are when it comes to the environment council committee in the Berkeley. Simultaneously, I and multiple Berkeley residents, we were also speaking during the city council meetings as well. And we definitely have their attention now, because now even some of the council members know us by name as well. And they say, oh yeah, Nilang, come over here and then make a comment. So we sit in front of them and we make comments. We actually grab their attention, make sure they know us, make sure they know our concern. And that's the whole idea, right? So after actually making multiple comments and gaining their attention, we also started attending their office hours as well and started talking about animal agriculture impact. And then now pretty much we are actually going to every city council office asking for an appointment and making presentation. And that's exactly where we were now asked to draft a policy proposal. So that was a success right there. Also, what I mainly focus on is during the city council meetings, different commissions, they actually make presentations and things like that. And recently, a Peace and Justice Commission in the Berkeley, they actually were assigned a task to make recommendations to Berkeley Council for socially responsible purchasing. And at that time, I make a recommendation to the Peace and Justice Commission to look at the food sector, because animal agriculture actually consumes in the United States 70% of our grains, while more than 800 million people actually don't have enough food to eat around the world. So if we are talking about socially responsible purchasing, we should definitely look at the food sector. So I made that comment, and it really grabbed the attention of few of the Peace and Justice Commission members who were there, and they showed interest. They wanted to actually learn more. So we are definitely gonna try that route as well. I also, during the council meetings, always try and speak to the journalist in the local media, which is Berkeley side. And they also actually asked me to write an article about consumption-based GHG inventory and animal agriculture impact. So we are also working on that as well. During the public comments, many of the residents, they also actually ask us for like more informations and things like that. So now what we are thinking is to design a really nice flyer that has strong data and references at the end, and we can just distribute it out for everyone who actually wants to know about animal agriculture impact. And that's why we can actually gain momentum within our city, right? We don't want city council to actually like take the agenda item about addressing animal agriculture through Region 2025 and have tons of like residents come over there in the council meeting and oppose the resolution, right? We don't want that. So this is really helpful in building the momentum within your city. So these are all the variety of different strategies that one can actually take in their city. But if you don't have much time, you don't need to really like go and attend all city meetings. You can design the strategy for your city based on the time and availability and resources that you have. But the most important thing is that never give up. Do not give up. Always keep trying and always be empathetic. Never get frustrated. These are the core values that I always try and keep within myself when I'm working on this project, because sometimes it gets frustrated, right? When people are not listening to you and stuff. So have patience, be persistent, and always have empathy for other people, right? That's our end goal. So with that, what I want to give you, and this is my last slide, what I want to give you is I want to give you a 1 month strategic plan that you can utilize in your city in order to get this movement going. First of all, definitely if you haven't been to a city council meeting, go to the city council meeting, see what they're doing, understand your city council members, meet them. So that's the first step. But after that, go and learn about your city's climate action plan and see what kind of greenhouse gas inventory they're using. See how they are not actually addressing animal agriculture in their climate action plan. Then find out the consumption-based greenhouse gas inventory for your city, for your state, and then learn that how much animal agriculture and food products actually generates greenhouse gas in your community. So that when you're talking to your legislators, you know what they're missing, you know what is the contribution from animal agriculture. Then after you have that much information, then please contact me. And what I'm going to do is we have a Facebook Cultivate Empathy for All group. And we actually create multiple subgroups for each and every city. So I'm going to assign a group for your own city where you're going to be organizing and initiating this moment. And in this group, you can actually invite people who are interested into environments, into the animal rights, and then you can create events over there and you can actually like gather more people to join you when you go and speak to the council meetings and things like that. So after creating that group, build also a strategic plan. See if you want to actually like go to the commissions, you want to go to the committees that's addressing environment, or you just want to focus on the city council meetings and the city council members. So build your strategic plan based on the time and availability you have, and then start organizing events. So let's say if your city council is meeting at the end of a Tuesday, organize a social media event, the group that I'm going to actually designate to you, create a social media event, share it everywhere. And after you actually speak to your city council meeting or you actually gave a presentation, always take pictures and share at the end on the social media to spread more awareness of the work that you are doing and have other people get inspired by your work and then join you. And that's how you actually build momentum. And when there's like more than one person speaking about a one particular topic over and over again in the city council meeting, city council knows that that's the issue for that community. And so that's why I really encourage to do that. And also, after speaking to the city council meetings or the commissions, it's really, really important to write the follow-up emails. And always in the follow-up email, if possible, ask them to give you an appointment where you can provide more information, make a presentation, right? So this is a 1 month strategic plan that once you actually get to the last step, you can just keep repeating until your city starts taking Vision 2025 seriously and pass it. And if you have any question regarding building a strategy for your city, please do contact me. It's very simple. It's my first name followed by my organization's name at .org. So please feel free to actually contact me. These are my references.